What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is I, Randy, with RTS Mobile Gaming, bringing you another fantastic Sea of Conquest video today. In today's video, we are talking about Season 2 options for your flagship. I've done a crazy amount of testing over the past several weeks. We are about 2 weeks away from ending Season 2, so I figured it's a good time to tell you my 2 favorite builds for the flagship here in Season 2. Get excited? Here we go. First off, your flagship is going to be much stronger in Season 2 because you're going to have new heroes, new trinkets, new ship part sets, and all kinds of gem specialization that you can use, okay? So, to make the most of your flagship, you are still going to want to talk about the top couple heroes, and the favorite hero for me is going to be Ahab as captain. Ahab as captain is going to bring a ginormous amount of shielding capacity to your march, okay? For example, my current HP is 7.2 million. This is going to give me almost a million HP shield. It is absolutely fantastic. You could, if you really wanted, put Barnacle as the alternative captain here, okay? Whoops. You could, like I said, put Barnacle as the alternative captain, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I am actually using Barnacle on this version of the flagship. But Barnacle could be an alternative option for captain if you are going to be running a debuff set like I am right now. But really, you want Ahab as your primary, maybe Barnacle, or maybe Ed as captain if you don't have a good Barnacle, because Ed is a jack of all trades, and he can fill any position on this flagship, okay? For the middle gunner position, all right, my favorite hero in Season 2 for the gunner position, for the first mate position, is going to actually be Cursed Ed. However, I also appreciate the value of putting, and if you look at the stats here, okay, these stats are not far off from putting Barnacle into the first mate position, because Ed is going to get a 20% stat bonus, Barnacle is not going to get a stat bonus, but Barnacle is going to provide the ability for you to debuff the enemy, reduce the rage that they generate, okay, and provide taking on water stacks as well, which will trigger the ship part bonus that we'll talk about in a little bit, okay? Eileen is another good option if you're going to do the drowning debuff version of the flagship, but really, the fourth option that I have been enjoying here in Season 2 is going to be Delilah. Delilah is really interesting because she gives a great benefit for your flagship. She gives 25% rage bonus for the first 12 seconds, which will help you activate your Ahab bubbles before the enemy gets their damage off. So normally, Ahab is a little bit slower to trigger his ultimate. You may end up eating a few ultimates and having a big chunk of your health missing before you can even trigger the Ahab bubble. Using Delilah, you're able to get your Ahab bubble off earlier in the fight. And again, this does drop off after 12 seconds, so it's going to only help you really for the first 2 ultimates, okay? She also will apply strategic vulnerability to 5 ships, which increases the strategic damage they take by 11%, which will help your Griffin ship punch like a truck, okay? So those are the options for the first mate. Let's talk about the gunner. Magnus is going to be the spender hero for the gunner. He is going to be best in slot if you are a spender. I think he's available at VIP 7. He provides a little bit of damage, but he provides an enormous amount of aggro for your ship, okay? The aggro is going to redirect enemy basic attacks to the flagship. All right, he is also going to provide a stacking debuff. The Sinister Sanctuary will stack 6 times. It will dramatically reduce the damage that you take. Okay, Magnus is going to be best in slot as gunner. However, you can, if you don't have Magnus, you can put Cursed Ed as the gunner, not a problem. Okay, there are other heroes you can insert into the gunner position, such as Django is going to be a very, very solid option. So I would say either Magnus, I would say Cursed Ed, I would say Django's a good option. And honestly, Armstrong is not bad. She shares a lot of similarities with Magnus overall. She just has much lower stats than Magnus. So if you happen to use Armstrong, you could use her instead of Magnus. And those are your 4 options for gunner position, okay? Let's talk about the ship parts. Now, this is going to really drive your selection between drowning or high constitution heroes, okay? For the ship parts on the flagship, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to go ahead and have 3 real options. Really, you could actually have 4 options, but 3 main options here in Season 2. First of all, I am currently using Rupturer of the Abyss. This is because it is a drowning-based First Mate that is going to apply Taking on Water. Taking on Water is going to debuff the enemy and make them take more damage, okay? There is also a version of this where maybe you run a Burning hero in that mid slot, but since Burning is my top damage build in Season 2, I am not going to cut my Burning damage down by debuff, putting the debuff into my Flagship. So I'm running a Drowning debuff on my Flagship. The other two gear sets that you really would want to use, my favorite gear set is going to be Sovereign of the Seas. This is going to give a tremendous amount of armor and HP for your ship, okay? And then the last option here is going to be Shelter of Yamata. This is a set, again, that's only available after Season 2 starts, and this is going to give you HP. It's also going to give you a chance to reduce all incoming damage by 35% for 6 seconds after you take more than 5% damage. Personally, I prefer the Sovereign of the Sea set over all of these, okay, because Ahab's bubble is based on HP, all right? So giving an additional 18% HP is really, really valuable. In addition, it gives 15% armor, and what we're finding here in Season 2 is that armor is actually extremely valuable. I have 4 defensive gems turned towards armor, okay? So my favorite set is probably Sovereign of the Sea. My second favorite set is probably the Drowning set to run this Drowning debuff build, okay? And my third favorite set is going to be the Shelter of Yamata, okay? Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about trinkets, because there are a lot of trinkets in this game to talk about, but only a few of them are good on the Flagship. All right, folks, so first off, the Golden Rudder is going to be best in slot. You want to put this on, it's really not a big deal who you put this on your Flagship, but you can only run one of these on the Flagship and gain the bonus on the bottom, okay? You can run 2 of them on the Flagship if you want, but the secondary stat here, which is going to be the fact that you generate aggro and damage mitigation for 3 seconds every 10 seconds, that is going to be gone. You will still benefit from the bonus armor by running multiple Golden Rudders if you have them, okay? Next option is going to be the Eagle Shield in the gold format, okay? Once you get this up to legendary, it is going to have the same armor stats as the Golden Rudder. However, it's also going to have static aggro bonus versus the Golden Rudder triggers the aggro bonus for 3 seconds every 10 seconds. So this is going to be a valuable companion to the Golden Rudder on your Flagship, okay? And the third option that you could really run, and this is interesting, so you may find that your ship is, and this just depends on really the tankiness of your build, okay? You may find that you don't need that extra 20% armor because your Flagship never dies. Well, there is another option here. Now, this is not going to increase the actual healing done by your Flagship, because your Flagship is dealing no healing, so the elixir is not going to give you a benefit there. But what it is going to do, it is going to give you a chance that when your Flagship launches a basic attack, it can restore rage for one of your other ships that has high attack. So this is really interesting. Again, this is going to be a high constitution trinket, so it is still going to be pretty good on the Flagship, but it is not going to give you any straight stat bonuses, such as the shield, which, like we showed you a moment ago, is going to give you armor and aggro, okay? And you know I love armor, so this is going to be a tough call for you, but you need to evaluate the situation. And if you are running the Sovereign of the Sea set with 3 Constitution heroes, then you will be very, very tanky, and you probably will be able to mess around with some of these trinkets, okay? There are purple options of the shield, which is going to be slightly worse, but if you fully enhance it, it can be just as good stat for the stat bonuses and the enhanced bonuses as a gold shield with no refinement, and that is what we're talking about today. Those are the heroes, those are the ship parts, those are the trinkets, ladies and gentlemen, for the Flagship. Those are the 3 different versions of this build that I would consider running. One of them is going to benefit you just being straight crazy tanky with 3 Constitution heroes. One of them is going to benefit you from applying a Drowning debuff, and one of them is going to benefit you from applying a strategic debuff and getting you more rage on your Flagship, okay? So, like and sub, folks. Flagship here in Season 2. Randy, out.